Many people are talking about how physical and mental challenges have been helped by gardens or gardening, and I'd like to tell you about my story of post-traumatic stress disorder and gardening, in the hope it might help you too. It's Alexandra here from the Middlesized Garden YouTube channel and blog. I was born in Gibraltar, but as my father worked for the British government, my childhood was full of moving around. After 5 safe and happy years living in the southeast of England, we all went to live on a very unhappy and unstable Caribbean island. The island had had 31 years of a very brutal dictatorship, which had ended just about a year before we went there, in the dictator's assassination. It was also around the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, so everything did feel very unsafe. There were several revolutions, one of which culminated in a major civil war, and we actually had to flee the country, briefly being refugees. After we left that Caribbean island, we went to live in another South American country, which was a delightful place to live, but it certainly had a much higher level of violent crime than Britain did. It had a few revolutions, not so major, and also it had several earthquakes, one of which was very big. So I did grow up knowing that the earth could literally open up and swallow you at any moment without any warning. But I always believed that I would be safe if I got to England. When I had nightmares, they were always nightmares about getting to England and being safe. And when I was 18, I came to England to live permanently, and eventually I got a job in journalism, and I moved into a house with my brother. On the second night we were in the house, I woke up to find 4 men in my bedroom, 3 of them wearing balaclavas so I couldn't see their faces, and they proceeded to attack me with what seemed like a bat and also a knife, which I later discovered came from our own kitchen. I screamed and screamed, and my brother came racing downstairs, and we were so lucky they ran away. I don't know exactly what happened or how long it took, because although I wasn't concussed, I have lost a part of my memory, and it took me several hours to realise that I'd actually been knifed, and my arms and legs were covered in small knife cuts, and my back was covered in bruises from the bat. I felt as if I had stepped into a completely strange world where I didn't know the rules, where everything was too bright and too loud, and where I simply didn't know if a knock on the door was someone come to hurt me, or whether it was just a delivery. Were those footsteps behind me in the street? What was that noise in the middle of the night? And every time I fell asleep, I was jerked awake as if someone had thrown a bucket of cold water over me. I felt as if someone had imprisoned and tortured me. But of course, that was my mind that was imprisoning me, and for several years it seemed as if it might not let me go. Friends were enormously supportive, and I had some counselling. As a psychiatrist friend has since told me, bad things happen, and when they do, it's normal to feel terrible. He advised me that post-traumatic stress disorder is when you're still not coping, not living comfortably in this world, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months later. And so it was. Over the next 4 years, I got married, I got my dream job in journalism, and I had twins, and that was all wonderful, and taking on new challenges was a huge help for me. But I still had terrible nightmares, and I still woke up screaming, and I still jumped if I heard footsteps, strange footsteps behind me in the street. And I started to get panic attacks in supermarkets and in the underground. So eventually I visited my GP again, and he signed me off for 2 months. In the counselling I had in those 2 months, I was told that I should do relaxation and meditation exercises at least twice a day. I was horrified. I thought, I haven't got time to do relaxation and meditation. And the counsellor said to me, well, do you want to get better or not? It was at that point I realised that unless I looked after myself, I wouldn't be able to look after my family or do my job. There is a reason why you have to put your own oxygen mask on first. One of the exercises I was advised to do twice a day was to lie down in a calm room, turning off all distractions, closing the door, and then relaxing from head to toe by tensing up every muscle and releasing it, and then doing a visualisation. Think of somewhere beautiful, they said. Imagine you're on a lovely Caribbean beach. Well, of course, a Caribbean beach to me involves armed soldiers or getting terribly sunburnt, so not very relaxing. So I chose a garden for my inspiration. It wasn't a famous garden, and it wasn't my own garden. It was a garden I had visited just once. The house it was attached to was for sale, and a friend took me round. We were on our own. And the people who owned it had left, so it was beginning to get a little overgrown. But you could still walk up the lavender path and look at the beautiful vegetable beds just outside the back door. It was long and thin, like many gardens attached to town houses, and each bit of it was divided into something separate. There was a tiny lawn, there were some rose borders, there was an arch, and then further towards the back there were fruit trees and some meadow grass growing underneath. This was over 20 years ago, so this combination of wildness and cultivation was a revelation to me. And I think another reason why I chose a garden is because my favourite childhood book was The Secret Garden, which is a story about an invalid boy, a traumatised orphan girl and a farmer's son coming together to heal by restoring a garden. As I started to get better, I started to walk around the streets of London. It was February, so it was grey and cold, but then I'd see a bit of blaze of yellow forsythia peeping over a wall, or the elusive floral scent of witch hazel would drift across the road, or snowdrops and anemones would push up in the front gardens. I realised that even when things are dark and grey and cold, there's always hope and joy and beauty. At the time, we had a tiny courtyard. It was about 15 feet wide and 20 feet long, and I longed for a real garden. When we moved out of London, I got my real garden. And then I discovered that loving gardens is not the same as knowing how to garden. Gardens grow with astonishing speed. I had to learn about gardening and gardening fast, and that's what led to this blog and YouTube channel, which has been another new and great adventure. See, I don't have to visit that meditation, that secret garden so often now, but if I wake up at 3 a.m. and can't get back to sleep, that is the time I use that trick, and often I fall asleep immediately. I've put together a video of this meditation around the garden, which is separate, and you can find it on the Middlesized Garden YouTube channel. I hope it'll help you learn how to create your own secret garden in your mind that you can visit at any time you feel the need to reduce stress. And if you'd like more inspiration for real gardens, not just imaginary ones, then do please join me on the Middlesized Garden YouTube channel and blog. We upload every Saturday with tips, ideas and inspiration. So hope to see you again. Thank you for listening.